Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Warning. The following podcast may occasionally contain strong language and material that is not suitable for all ages. If you are easily offended, it is highly advised that you turn back now. However, if you're a degenerate, welcome, brethren. You've found your home.
Welcome to the Crime Diner. We are a Jersey podcast, and on the menu is a variety of true crime, cults, mysteries, historical hilarities, and sometimes victim stories. We do this within a Dinner with Friends theme. I'm Nidia.
I'm Dana.
I'm Cindy.
Last week, I covered a story about a real-life body snatchers in New York.
Yeah.
They're out there snatching everybody's bodies.
It was pretty horrifying.
It was fucking horrifying.
Yeah.
And leaves me wondering, like, a really... You know, something to really think about is if you get, and this is like a new fear unlocked,
yes.
If you get a body part from a cadaver, is your blood now haunted?
Well, that's an interesting concept. I hadn't thought about that before. I thought you were going to say something reasonable like, if you have to get a cadaver part, that maybe we should be like, hey, where'd you get that from? Like, just a double check with you. Where'd you get that from?
Yes.
Has it been tested?
Yes.
Right. Is it legally obtained?
Yes. Did you steal it?
Right. Also, is it going to be able to drive my body and change my DNA and commit crimes? Because you know what? Hello?
If it's a ghost cadaver, if it's a ghost ligament for your knee,
yes,
that's problematic.
Do you know that I recently came into some information about organ donation?
What?
And about how organ donation, if you commit a crime, it changes your DNA, and like now you have two DNAs in your body.
Really?
And
is that true?
When
is
you
that true?
commit a crime?
Yeah.
Yes.
That does not sound correct, Nydia.
If you were to happen to have had committed allegedly a crime,
and you donate your organ, and now the organ donor has both your DNA and their own DNA.
I don't know. I'm gonna need some fact checking on this.
They can go to jail for. I think I saw that in a movie.
She's making up stuff here.
Yeah, ignore her.
I don't know. Fact check me. I think I'm right.
All right.
I may have seen that in a TikTok. Anywho, so last week I covered that, and joining us this week is a guest from Canada land. Her words, not mine. She is Brenda of the Horrifying History podcast, and I could live and die by that voice.
Yeah, so you guys are gonna love it because I literally walked in and was like, I could listen to this all day.
I actually have.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a charcuterie board of stories for you guys today.
So we're each gonna tell a story, a history-based story,
history-based,
a horrifying history, something like that.
Yeah,
history-ish
like
based.
That.
All right.
Yeah, but first, the food. Let us pray. Bless us, O patrons, for these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy donations through Patreon every month, under the power of the V
Podcast Cult. This week, Brenda came on board and she's like, I don't want to take over your podcast. So can we just have snackies and some fun stuff? And I said, oh, we can definitely do a charcuterie. So that's what we have. We have a full charcuterie board here. I asked her what's one of her favorite drinks. And she told me a sangria.
We love a sangria.
And she likes a red sangria. And for dessert, I took potato chips, ruffled potato chips, melted some marshmallows, covered the potato chips with marshmallow, and then I drizzled chocolate on top of those potato chips.
That's marshmallows?
Yeah, it's like a Rice Krispie treat, sort of. Like a chocolatey Rice Krispie treat, but potato instead of Rice Krispie. It's so fucking good.
You can't. Not everybody could see this. Brenda's shaking her head because she is like, why? Why am I in Canada land?
I'm kind of thinking I'm doing my podcast wrong here.
You are.
I should have more snacks. I just don't have. All I have is some Coke Zero.
All right, let me explain something to you, Brenda. Since we started this podcast, I have gained 40 pounds.
No, you haven't. In her big head,
marshmallow
maybe.
Potato chips.
I weighed myself. And I was like, oh my God.
We've been doing this podcast for 3 years, so that's a while. So what kind of wine was it?
This is called Un Litro di Rosso. It is an Italian Passone Natura, and it's got a red-eyed wolf on it.
Yeah.
It is.
It looks like they're from Canada Land.
It's organic.
Oh, is that the problem? No, I'm just...
So how does a wolf with a red eye match up with organic? Like, is he just giving a stink eye to everybody and saying, you better be organic? Or...
He's stoned.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good-looking wolf, though, I guess.
Oh, he's quite handsome.
If you had to put an actor's face to that wolf, he's the guy from the movies. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
The glittery vampires.
Oh, like Twilight?
That's the one.
Okay.
Robert
Pattinson?
No, it's the guy, the wolf guy.
Oh, Taylor Lautner.
Taylor
Oh,
Lautner.
the guy was actually good looking.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I would have totally chose the werewolf because damn, those abs were great.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I get that.
I never found Pattinson like attractive
Particularly
at all.
attractive,
No,
yeah.
never.
He's kind of greasy a little bit.
Well, she's
It looks
greasy
like
as
he
hell
needs a
too.
Kristen Stewart.
Anywho, it's all that glitter.
Yes. It's the shimmering...
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
I'd like to ask the board. I come to the board with a question.
Got it.
So, you know, people have been...
And this is where you come for advice.
That's right.
You definitely come to us for advice.
Yes, I
especially
do.
me.
Well, questionable advice, certainly.
I give very good advice.
So, I have been living in my house for like, I don't know, 3 years now, right?
Yes.
But I just bought it. I was renting it and I just bought it. Which, to my neighbors, they wouldn't know that.
Right.
Right? Because what the fuck happens at the bank, like, is irrelevant. I've been living there. But I had been living there mostly by myself. My son went away to college. I was single and I didn't have a dog. So it was just like me coming, being in my driveway and leaving. Like the most people were at my house was Friday nights when you guys would come, we would record. So my son is back from school. He's back living at home. And I have a girlfriend who's, you know, spends time at my house. So there's 3 adults now at the house and 3 vehicles.
Right.
Okay. And so I only have a 2-car driveway, and right in front of my house is my mailbox, so you can't park there. So, whoever is parking, they have to park across the street, and there's like a whole long curb to park there. My girlfriend had been parking over there, you know, on one side of the lady directly across from me's driveway, you know, on one side of her driveway and on the other. And if nobody was there, she was just parking like right in front of her, not in front of her driveway, but the first spot right next to her driveway. So she comes out and she says to my girl, this was like maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe like right around Christmas, I guess, a couple months ago, and says, you can't park right there because I have to put my trash can there. Trash only comes one day a week, but like, I feel ya, right? So she had moved her car back. You know, when she parks there, she moves her car back. So they also have 2 people in their driveway and then a car in the street. And they park like maybe a half a car length away from their driveway so they can fit their trash can there. So she's confronted my girlfriend. She's confronted my son. And today I got off of work, and of course I, who own the house and pay the bills there, have now been parking on the street because everybody parks in my driveway and no one saves me a spot. That's a different problem for a different day.
Right.
That being said, I parked on the street and I like pulled up and then I backed up, and I have a backup camera and I parallel park every day, so this is not a difficult thing for me. And I parked probably 6 inches from her car. It was tight, but she was facing out and there's nothing in front of her except a trash can that she has to move. So it's not like she was blocked in at all. So I was on the telephone and I got out of the car. Oh, mind you, her son hit my car like 3 weeks ago.
Ooh, no thank you.
In that same spot. But he only bumped it. It wasn't a big deal. I didn't say anything about it. I don't care. I was standing there. I saw it happen.
Right.
But it wasn't a big deal. Whatever. And I didn't say anything. So I'm on
Did he know that he bumped
Oh,
you?
yeah, because my friend was there installing the invisible fence. We were all standing in the front yard.
Right.
And so my friend, I was like, oh, they're going to say something because they don't want us to park. And of course, my friend, he's, you know, my friend's husband. He's like, oh, you know, got all like big about it. And the guy came over and was like, oh, I'm sorry. You know what? My friend's husband went over and like touched the car and made a big show about it. So like, it was obvious that like he hit my car, but like we were cool about it. Whatever. Right. It didn't matter. So I get out of the car today before I'm coming here. And she's like, excuse me. can I ask you a question? And I'm like, sure. Now, I've never spoken to this woman. I've never really even seen her. Like, so she's like, can I ask you why you insist on parking so close to my car? And I was already sort of ready for her because she's now confronted 2 people in my house. And we've had a lot of discussion around this. So I was like, oh, well, like, yeah, I'm trying to be considerate of the other neighbors who need to park on the public street here because you won't move up enough. So my other neighbors, they have a lot of people because they carpool to a nail salon. They all work together. So they have a lot of cars coming in the morning and they carpool. So I said, I was just trying to be considerate of everybody else. So I just like moved enough so there's enough. Well, I just don't understand why you have to park so close. And I'm like, well, I mean, maybe if you, like, moved up a little bit. She's like, so you want me to move up, but I have to put my trash can there. And I'm like, yeah, 1 day a week. And she's like, so you want me? I was like, whoa. I don't want you to do anything. I said, ma'am, do whatever you'd like in front of your house.
Right.
Have at it.
Right.
Enjoy your time, my friend.
I would have been taking the earrings out. I would have been greasing up my face as we're talking.
She just, like, keeps being like, I don't understand why you have to park so close. And I was like, well, you know, like, it's a public street. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm a fucking, what the fuck, lady?
Right.
So I go inside, and then I'm in there, and I come up to everybody's home, and I'm like, oh, the lady across the street, my son, like, in it immediately.
Yeah.
Like, he gets all wound up because he's, like, already had an issue with her.
Right.
And so I'm finishing up the story here, and I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, you know, I've lived here 20 years and I've never had this problem. I've lived here, you moved in a couple of months ago, and I'm like, I've been here for 3 years.
Right.
Why are you saying that? But I think the dog is what's throwing people because we just got a dog.
Yeah.
And so, of course, we weren't never walking around the neighborhood, and now they see my girlfriend's car, they see my son's car, they see a dog. So I think they think we just moved in.
Right.
You know, so I'm sitting here and I'm like, am I being an asshole? Like, am I being like, so I feel like compelled to go over there and be like, hey, like, what do you need for me to make this? Because I know that, I can be irrationally mad about nothing.
Right.
Like, I have been in restaurants where people were, like, choking, and I've left because I can't stand the sound of, like, someone else coughing. Like, other people having, like, moist noises, you know?
You can't stand the sound of other people dying, taking their last breaths.
Like, my dog kept...
CPR certified.
My dog kept gagging today, and I was like, why are you doing that? I'm like, stop doing that. So, like, I know I can be, like, irrational. And I'm like, it's your home. You want to be, like, in a place of peace and solace. Like, so if I'm, like, out of my way annoying her... Like, what can I do? But then also on the other side, I'm like, but fuck you, lady, you know?
Also, I'm wondering, were you wearing that shirt while you were telling
No,
her
I was wearing this hoodie that does have emojis all over it.
So she's wearing a middle finger shirt. I was wondering, I was like, were you telling her to fuck off while you were talking to her?
I wasn't. I put that on after.
I don't think you were an asshole. As someone who literally today had to park down the street because somebody was parked in front of my house.
Yeah.
And it's street parking, so I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You weren't the asshole. And I'm the asshole. Also, so that front space in front of my house doesn't really fit 2 cars. It kind of does, but it doesn't really. And when my neighbor moved in that first day, I was like, we're going to have to share this. You're going to have to move all the way back, as far back as you can go, so both of our cars fit there. And by both of our cars fitting there was probably 2 inches between our cars. And guess what she does? She does it when she had to.
It's not, I mean, even we have taken to not parking in that first spot to, like, so she can still at least park in front of her house. I think that's at least courteous enough. Yeah, but I'm like, bitch, it's a public street. I must have said public street 5 times to, like, nail home the point.
Well, can I be the asshole?
Sure.
All right, so you know where I live. I have an ample parking space for all the cars.
Yeah.
Right. And I also exclusively lay claim to the very front of my house.
Okay.
Not because I need to park there, but simply because I don't want the view of my house blocked.
Oh, well,
no, you're an asshole.
I don't want you parking in front of my house.
Now let's get the Canada land opinion.
I will. I have a
because they're nice.
I have pieces of cement that I throw in the front to avoid.
So you'd
cars.
rather trash up your front of your house?
No. It's a planter that broke because somebody drove on that, okay? And they broke my planter. And so now, instead of cleaning up the pieces and throwing it out, they are on the street because I do not want anybody parking in front of my house.
I will just say this one thing before we get her opinion, is that when she confronted my girlfriend, she said she wants to be able to see her car on her cameras because she had somebody break into her car. So that's why she parks in the front spot in front of her house. Totally reasonable.
Right.
Absolutely, we could not park in that spot. Like, I totally get that. So anyway, that's just another caveat. I forgot that part.
So are you the asshole?
Am I the asshole? What do you think?
Well, it sounds like to me that you have a category 7 Karen on your hands.
Oh, yeah. Also, this was 6 o'clock at night and she was in pajamas. No judgment. I'm with you, but I'm just saying.
The problem that I have is that you gave her the front spot without any issue. She had easy access to get in or out of that if she knew how to parallel park, with everybody should at this point.
Yeah.
If you have a license, know how to do that. And so she was just being a jerk, really.
Okay, good.
You have no ability to put all the vehicles in your house. It's a public street.
Yeah.
There's no bylaw saying you can't. There's no signage. It's that she's just being a Karen.
Okay. I was like,
wearing Karen.
Yeah, I didn't want to just upset her for no reason, but I'm like, there really is nowhere else for me to park. If I park in the other spot, I'm blocking my mailbox, which we have mail carrier friends, and they'd be very upset if I was blocking the mailbox every day. So if someone from Canada says that I'm not being an asshole, that's good. I feel good.
I have a neighbor though who's a complete asshole.
Okay, tell us about it.
Like on a level of 14. Now, I totally understand how wanting to keep the front of your property looking nice, because I'm one of those that is majorly OCD about my lawn. And when I moved in, I noticed there was tire tracks on actually a groove where people were driving up on my lawn. So I repaired it, and I got those little reflecty things, like these little signs, and I kind of put it in there just to have people stop doing it. Now, how hard is it to park on the street and not put your tires on my lawn?
Yeah.
So the reason I finally snapped was because the neighbor, they have a school bus come to pick up their children, like a little van. And that van drives on my lawn. I mean, not a little bit. I mean, the one day I snapped, it was 2 tires. Literally 2 tire tracks on my lawn that started by my driveway, cutting across my lawn. I live in town, by the way, and into their driveway. And I'm like, what the F? So I got these little signs. Now I'm going to backtrack. Now, the neighborhood kind of hates them just because of they don't discipline their children at all. And in the first week, the children, the oldest at the time was about 8, literally cut into my property. And he went, crosses his arms, "This is my property." And I'm like, I don't think you understand. And so I'm trying to be kind, right?
Yeah.
Because we're Canadian, we're kind. I said, you see where these trees are? Those are my trees. And then your parents' property, not yours, is on the other side of that. So you need to go home. So then he screamed, "F you!" And he ran off.
Oh, shit.
He did that to every single person in our neighborhood and taught his younger brother to do it too. So as people started to complain, you'd get the same thing all the time. Well, they have autism, so there's nothing we can do. Well, the problem I have with that is I worked in healthcare. I worked in lockdown units. And also, I have a relative who's severely autistic. He said he's 16 now, and he maybe says about 150 words max.
Yeah.
He's behaved. Just because you have a disability doesn't mean that you stop parenting.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But I never said that because you're not going to go say that to your neighbors. The kids were out. They started going and destroying things in the neighborhood. They've cost me about $500 worth of damage so far.
Oh, my God.
Destroyed my shed. They broke into my shed. They broke into another storage area. And that's when I snapped. I snapped because, you know what off coils are?
No.
Okay, so it's basically to keep away mosquitoes. Right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, off coils.
We had to install cameras because we were getting so much damage from these kids. And so we would go over there and say, look, they broke this. And he's like, oh, the husband, oh, we'll pay for it, no problem. So it's like, okay, do you want me to invoice you? And I never got paid back for anything. Then they destroyed our shed, which cost us about $1,500 to replace.
Oh,
my
no.
God.
They would get an invoice.
But when he ate the off coil, which if you look at the package has a little skull on it because it's toxic.
He ate it?
That's when he ate it. So I dragged him back. When I caught him, it was spring. There was still snow in the ground. He was wearing, so this is the second time I caught him like this. In November, when it was snowing outside, there was snow on the ground. He was wearing tighty whities, nothing else. I caught him 3 blocks away.
Oh, my God.
Now, Now, this kid, it's a middle kid, he's about 4. Everyone in the neighborhood's bringing him back and saying, I caught him on traffic on the highway. I caught him here. I caught him here. That's when the abuse started because they love leaving their windows open. The screaming and them beating all on each other.
Oh, my God.
That's when the cops started showing up. So everybody's like, how much do you want to dip your feet into that, right?
Yeah.
So I basically said to them, on the day they ate the off-coil, brought him over and I said, look, enough's enough. He ate poison. You need to call a doctor. We got to bring him to the hospital. Oh, he just eats stuff. He eats everything. It's fine.
Oh,
no,
my God.
He ate poison. What I didn't know is the next door neighbor heard, and she is a mandatory court reporter. So she heard the conversation, and she witnessed a lot of bad stuff. So she called Children's Services.
Wow.
And Children's Services visited. Now, about 2 weeks before that, he came over and started telling me that he was a paralegal. I know this is going to take a little south here. He's going on and on about how smart he is and how he's smarter than any woman here. And I'm looking around, and I'm the only woman standing here. Okay, what does this have to do with anything? So we had construction on the street. The guy, the construction actually cut the internet because they're putting in a cable, like fiber optic. He came out and he started telling me that I did that.
Oh, my God.
Or could it be the guys right there that's putting in the cable and they sent the notices to everybody saying the internet's down today? And he's like, you did it maliciously and with intent. And he's going on and on. I'm a paralegal and I'm going to use my paralegal abilities to go after you. And he's like, bring it on.
Yeah.
So my next door neighbor came over, who's a big, tough military guy. And he's like, what's the problem? So this guy's all puffed up. And the second he's seen my neighbor,
Yeah.
right? And instantly he just starts going off back to his house. I'm like, okay, that was strange. Then with this whole off-coil thing, he came over. I didn't know CAS was called, our Children's Services. That's what it's called here in Canada. Mm-hmm. So basically, he comes over and he starts laying into me. Now, it's interesting. I checked my cameras. He actually was looking to see if my husband was home first. Then he came over.
Oh, what
and
a
he starts
psycho.
raging on me that I'm a bad neighbor because I called CAS. And I'm like, I didn't call CAS. I have no idea what you're talking about. Well, they said about that poison. I said, well, Jesus Christ, your kid was poisoned. You need to refuse to take him to a doctor. But either way, I didn't call. And I said, it wasn't me. And even if I knew, I ain't telling you.
Yeah.
You guys let your child get poisoned. So he stormed off, and that's when he started spying on me and the children. So you would hear him in the yard. Go and go see what they're doing. So they'd come onto my property, sneak behind my trees. They would go underneath my deck windows to spy on me in my living room.
Ew,
they would
no.
peer into my kitchen window, and they would go into my dining room and spy on us there. So I went over again. And I said, "This needs to stop. This is harassment. You guys are not supposed to come on my property. Anybody who's visiting your house or anything, no one's to be on my property." I said, "It's harassment. It needs to stop immediately." And then he started going off that I called Children's Services again. I said, you need to go. Just go. So fast forward to about 2 weeks ago. I'm out shoveling my driveway, as usual, because I'm in Canada. And I watched the video after. He comes outside, and he's holding the shovel, and he's pretending to shovel. He, literally just kind of, moves it around, and he's watching me and watching the property to see if my husband's home, which he happened not to be, because he was at work that day. And then he comes over, trots over, and he's standing kind of in the middle of the street. Because remember, I told him he's trespassing. So he's there. But the thing is, I had my earbuds in. And I was listening to music. So I didn't hear him. I don't do that anymore. Then all of a sudden, he came up behind me. And I pulled out my earbuds as he was coming behind me with a shovel in hand. Not like you're going to shovel. He's holding it kind of like this. And I turn around. He stops. And he drops it. All on video, by the way. And I said, "Can I help you?" And then he starts laying on me that apparently I called the school board on him. Then he switched to, I called the school teacher. Then I called the principal. Then I called, and I'm like, "Can you make up your mind on which bad thing I did today? Can you make your mind up on what I called?"
You're like,
And he's
dude, I don't care about your kids that
horrible
much.
neighbor. He said, "I'm going to get you. I know people. I'm very powerful," and all this. I says, whoa. Firstly, we're going to stop. Stop threatening me with your alleged paralegal bullshit, because I looked you up. And by the way, you're a legal secretary. So calm your pants down. Number 2, this is harassment, and you idiot, it's all on video. I have cameras for you. Thirdly, get that off my property. I says, "What the hell are you doing?" Then he starts, I swear to God, melts down like a 3-year-old. Like a 3-year-old who didn't get a candy. He's literally doing all the arms up and he's stomping like a child and he's screaming at me. You think I'm effing stupid? Do you think I'm effing stupid? I'm smarter than every woman around here. I'm like, go F off, you misogynistic pee. And so I hit dialed and I called my husband and I said, do you hear this shit? And he's like, what is that? And I'm like, it's him losing his shit. He's deconstructing mentally in front of me. And I can understand why. The police were in their house 4 times in the last 2 weeks before.
Wow. Oh, my God.
They brought the kids and the mother out to another location at 3 a.m.
Wow.
So obviously there's some stress there. So what he needs to do is beat on another chick. And he thought it would be me. Here's the problem with that. He doesn't know I know how to MMA fight.
Oh. I want a video of that.
I just picked up. I said, my husband said, call the police. Hung up. I dialed 911. I said, come down here right now because it's not going to go well. And so he's still screaming at me. I'm not on your property, you bitch. What you can do? So I said, okay. Put my foot down. Took off my mitts. Dropped the coat. I took 2 steps back. I invite you. Come onto my property and say that to my face. And I'm like, say it to my face. But you won't because you're a fucking bitch. Sorry for the language. And I said, come here. Say it to my face. And he took 2 steps back, continued the screaming, and then he heard the cop cars. Off he went. So I have now found out from the police that A, he has a record. Ooh. B, it's for domestic abuse. And it's times 4.
Wow.
And he's going to court for that. Next, on top of it, he's now being charged with harassment for me and trespassing. And I haven't seen him since. He hasn't been out of the house. But when I have come out, my cameras still catch him. He's trying to spy on me.
Oh, wow.
You had me at
It's
the
creepy
shovel.
as hell.
Yeah, for real. He tried to hit you with a shovel.
But what do you do? Do you move
Yes.
or not? I
Yes.
bought my house.
You
Should
get
I have to
arrested
move
long
because he's
time.
crazy?
No.
I figured
that
it's going to take
sucks.
just a couple weeks and he's going to be gone. He's probably going to end up in jail. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, let's hope so.
It sounds like he may get locked up.
Let's hope so.
I honestly, after what he pulled, I was pushed so bad, I kind of hope he takes a swing. And it's funny because I told this to my husband when he came home and he goes, is it wrong of me to hope he takes a swing at you? And I said, yes, but no. And he goes, that way he's not only is he going to get his butt handed to him.
Yeah.
Because I know how to fight well. And he's going to get his butt handed to him and he's going to get arrested.
By
I'm
a
like, pretty
woman,
much.
too.
I know that
'Cause he's probably
it's going
so-
to be the big win.
Yeah, he's so used to, like, pushing women around. Oh, I'm smarter
his
than
wife
every
is
woman.
very,
I
very
would love...
neat.
If you beat the shit out of him, I want that off the camera footage. We're going to have to send that.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, we definitely
it's going to
want
be
that camera.
delightful.
Oh, I love that.
And you'll pursue it, too. Like, where, you know, if he's hitting his wife or the woman, whoever is living there, she might not pursue...
Right.
You know, it's harder to
She
pursue
won't.
it, you know. But you will,
That's
so
what
that's
police
good.
told me.
I
The
kind of hope
police
he hits
told
you,
me
too.
that they charged him the 4th time.
Good.
Because every time she called the police, and
Yeah.
then they'd split him up, and she'd say, I don't want to press charges.
Right, of course not.
Wow.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, just
he's
the
going to learn
shovel.
a very important lesson that A, women have brains, and B, they fight back.
Yeah. Some
Yeah.
of us do.
Oh my God, I wish you would have caught him with the shovel up in the air because then you could have just karate kicked him right in the neck.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that's on video, and it's in the hands of the police right now.
Good.
Oh.
Good.
And I told the idiot that I have cameras, and this is way before. I'm talking in the summer.
Yeah.
I told him that I put cameras because of your family.
Wow.
I did it to tell him, to basically threaten him to smarten up.
Yeah.
You're now on video. You need to be aware. And he's an idiot, so. But apparently so am I. Every woman is, so.
Well, you're certainly dumber than him.
I just can't figure out how to use that technology.
Well, I mean, she's definitely got you beat.
Yeah. I mean, now I'm like, maybe I should just go over there and be like, hey, man, sorry about this. I'll give you 8
trade
inches
neighbors?
instead of 2.
You take out my neighbor, I'll take out yours.
Deal. That's a great deal.
We have another neighbor that since we've since installed a fence, so my dog, we don't have to walk him, we can just let him in the backyard. But before we were walking him, and there's a lady that lives a few houses down who actually knows my mom. That's why when she was also one of the ones that came over and was like, welcome to the neighborhood, because she was like really mad that she has little signs, she has rope around her yard and little signs like with little dogs that say like, don't pee here, don't poop here, which like, of course, like I wouldn't,
Right.
if you don't mean to have your dog poop on the yard, like I don't know about the peeing thing, like I try to drag him,
Right.
but my son wasn't. And so I guess he pooped not in her yard, but he picked it up, and it was the morning of trash morning, so trash was already at the street, and the cans were already up there, but the trash trucks haven't come yet. So my son picked up the poop and put it in their can. But he was like, it's gonna get picked up, you know. So he said he like went back to the house and he, you know, my son is a bit of a stoner, so he was a little high, and the woman and her husband knocked on the door, and he was like, oh shit, like he opened the door, and she was like, it was the husband, and the wife was standing like off my porch, but you know how like I have a couple steps, and then like she was way behind, and she's like, you know, the husband's like, my wife is so mad you put that poop in there, we have you on camera. And my son's like, what poop? Did I didn't put any poop. Gaslights this bitch. Like, he didn't just do it 5 minutes before. 5 minutes before he did it. And he's like, no, I don't think I put any poop in your trash can. And the woman's like, I have it on camera. And my son's like, I don't think I did that. I don't know why you're saying that. Whatever. So I saw her a couple weeks.
I'd be happy if it ended up in the garbage can.
Yeah. We always pick it up. We always picked it up every single time. We never left it in the neighborhood. Yeah, so he went back and got it out of their trash. They wanted him to come back and get the poop out of their trash can. He did do it.
Oh, good God.
He did.
She's upgraded to level of Karen 8.
Yeah, well, so she goes, well, you know, she comes by like a couple of weeks later and she's like, said, welcome to the neighborhood. And I'm like, we've been here for 3 years.
Yes.
I said, you know my mother. I said, I rented this house from Kathy. And she's like, oh, you're Kathy's daughter? I didn't realize that was you. I'm like, bitch, we've had like 4 conversations. Are you okay?
She's
like,
not, clearly.
She's not okay.
Does she have some dementia happening?
I don't know what her deal is, but she really is crazy. And she's like, the two of them, other than that, like, and we have really nice neighbors. Like, everybody else has been like super nice to us. I mean, you know, the little kid that keeps breaking in our house, but like, you know.
That's the ghost boy.
That's a ghost boy. We're not really sure about that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If you like weird, spooky, and strange history, then I have the podcast for you. My name is Brenda, and I'm the host of Horrifying History. Are you into the dark side of history? Horrifying History tells you about the side of history that people don't normally talk about. We tell the tales of haunted places, infamous true crimes, the paranormal, and unsolved mysteries, and then we look to history to see where the truth actually lies. Want to get spooky with us? Get your Horrifying History fix by subscribing today on Spotify, Spreaker, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Hello, Spooklings.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Kathy.
And we're the hosts of the weekly podcast, All Hallows Eve Podcast.
We are a husband and wife duo with a passion for anything spooky, macabre, and true crime, sprinkled with our own twist of comedy.
We explore topics such as the history of Halloween, the Butcher of Plainfield, Hocus Pocus 2, urban legends, superstitions, and more.
So come join us as we go down the rabbit hole that is All Hallows Eve Podcast.
Listen and follow us at allhallowsevepodcast.com or your favorite podcast provider.
Stay spooky, my friends.
So I have a story.
Yeah, you want to tell us one?
Yes, I have a story. I guess I'll start off this thing.
Yeah, let's go.
You know, we'll give then maybe you can go.
Yeah.
And then I hear that Brenda has a hilarious story.
Well, it depends. Depends on what you find funny. I think it's hilarious.
All right, great.
I have a dark sense of humor.
Yes.
All right, so my story today is intended to teach a lesson about how sometimes it's the little things that make the biggest difference.
All right, let's hear it.
The Tootsie Roll candy was invented in 1896 by Leo Hirschfeld, an Austrian immigrant who started making candy in his small New York City candy shop. Hirschfeld named the candy after his daughter's nickname, Tootsie. The Tootsie Roll became an instant success due to its chocolate flavor and its ability to remain fresh longer than, you know, other candies of the time without the preservatives.
Yeah, because it's not like really chocolate, is it?
No, it's like a taffy, like a saltwater taffy kind of thing, but like with chocolate flavoring.
Not to divert your story.
Please divert.
Y'all have Tootsie Rolls, right?
Yep.
You know
and
that...
they're nothing like salted toffee.
Yes. No. Oh. We have a Tim Hortons.
Where?
In New Jersey. I passed it the other day.
I apologize for that.
Huh?
I apologize for that.
No, I was like, I almost drove off the road when I saw it. I'm like, a Tim Hortons? When did that get here?
Are you sure you didn't?
Go email me later, and I'll tell you how to order in Canadian. That'll screw them right up.
Okay, all right, okay. I'm excited because we didn't stop, but I'm gonna. Stop.
I am kind of shocked about that.
Yeah.
Tim Hortons is like out here. We have Wawas.
See, I thought it was like a Bob's Big Boy or something. I thought it was like a restaurant you could go sit in. I didn't know that it was like
a Wawa.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, go ahead. I just thought that was so Canadian or whatever the fuck.
Canadiana?
Canadiana. I thought that was so Canadian.
Is that what you were trying to say? Okay. Wow, you're really rolling with this. Yeah. All right. So that's an inside joke.
Yeah.
Today, the Tootsie Roll Industries Company produces over 49 million Tootsie Rolls per day and sells them in over 70 countries worldwide.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I should have waited one sentence to ask that.
Yes, one sentence. And you would have known that definitely Canadian.
Definitely Canadiana, whatever.
Canadiana. The Tootsie Roll is a Canadiana. So this is obviously not a story about the Tootsie Rolls, the Tootsie Rolls' entrance into societal norms, right? But rather its involvement in a crucial war.
Okay.
So during the Korean War, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Korean War, it took place from 1950 to 1953. It was a short mini war. Very violent.
Okay.
The Tootsie Roll, a simple candy that many of us know and love, played a vital role in helping to save the lives of a group of Marines.
Really?
It did. This story is a fascinating example of how sometimes the smallest things can make the biggest difference in times of war.
All right.
Because necessity is the mother of invention.
So
right?
they say.
So in December 1950, a group of around 15,000 U.S. and Allied troops were battling harsh conditions, and the numerically superior North Korean and Chinese forces were really coming down on them. And this was happening near the Chosin Reservoir in North Korea.
Okay.
That's what it's called, the Chosin.
Okay.
All right. So the reservoir's temperatures ranged between -5 in the daytime to -25 at night.
Shit.
So they were just like some harsh-ass conditions, right? Everything is frozen at that point. Food rations were difficult or impossible to warm up, and most of the artillery shells weren't going off. Their guns were like so gummed up with snow, and it was just like a lot. Because they were getting shot at, and like it was so bad, they had like a lot of their equipment had holes in it, and it was just like not even usable. And their hands were just like just frozen up from how cold it was, right? So this battle is known as the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir, one of the most brutal battles of the entire Korean War. During the course of the battle, the troops became surrounded by enemy forces, and they were running low on food and ammunition, and were struggling with the bitter cold weather conditions, right? So the 15,000 troops were up against a division of 120,000 men.
Shit.
So they're very much outnumbered.
Yeah.
The soldiers were desperate for a supply drop since they were nearly running out of mortar shells. So the troops called for an airdrop using the code they made up a code for ammunition. They needed ammunition, so they made up a code and they called them Tootsie Rolls.
Okay.
So there was a confusion between the people receiving these calls for artillery.
Oh my God.
And they thought they took it literally. And they were like, no, well, they're asking for Tootsie Rolls, so let's send them Tootsie Rolls.
That's so bad.
So it was during this desperate situation that a Marine helicopter was finally able to airdrop some much-needed supplies, including ammo, medical supplies, and food. And among the food supplies were some boxes of Tootsie Rolls.
Okay.
Because ask and you shall receive.
Right.
This is the candy that obviously is made up of sugar, corn syrup, and a little bit of cocoa powder, right? It's also versatile. Okay? Because of its consistency, right? While the Tootsie Rolls may have seemed like an insignificant addition to the food supplies, they ended up playing a crucial role in helping keep the Marines alive. One of the key challenges that the troops were facing was that many of their rifles had become clogged with ice and snow. It made it difficult to shoot accurately. So in addition, the freezing temperatures meant that the troops were suffering from frozen hands and fingers, which made it even harder to manipulate the rifles. So it was during this critical moment that a Marine officer had the idea of using the Tootsie Rolls to help solve both problems.
Okay.
So he reasoned that the Tootsie Rolls, which are pliable and sticky when they're warm, could be used to clean out the rifles by pushing them through the barrels and stuff like that. Additionally, if they were heated up, they could be molded into various shapes and therefore insulate the fingers and the hands.
Really?
And, yes. So, like making...
Because they don't really melt
gloves.
like chocolate, right?
No.
Oh, when it's freezing.
When it's warmed up, you can mold it around your hand, right? And then since it's already freezing, it turns into a fucking glove.
Interesting.
Yes, like a rubber taffy glove.
Okay, all right.
Right. So the Marines quickly put this plan to action, right? And using the Tootsie Rolls to clean out their rifles and keep their hands warm. And thanks to this creative solution, the Marines were able to keep their weapons functioning and fight off the enemy forces effectively, ultimately surviving this brutal battle. So they were basically like filling up holes in their stuff and their equipment with the Tootsie Rolls because they would like mold it, and it would be like sugar roux. You know that sugar stuff?
No.
It's like this like molded thing.
Okay.
And then it hardens and it turns like solid.
Yeah.
Yes. And you can make like a freaking coffee handle.
Yes.
As seen on TV.
Yes, 100%.
Yes. So it was kind of like that, right? So the impact of the Tootsie Roll on the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir was significant enough that the candy company later began inserting a small Tootsie Roll into each soldier's meal.
Wow.
Yes. During Vietnam, they used it as a reminder of the company's support for the troops.
Wow.
Yes, during Vietnam, when nobody else gave a shit.
Yeah.
In conclusion...
Nobody was happy about that.
No. While the story of the Tootsie Roll's role in saving the Marines during the Korean War may seem like a small anecdote, it illustrates the important role that the little things can play in high-stakes situations. In this case, a simple candy ended up making a significant difference in helping to keep the troops alive and be able to fight. And the people that did survive this battle, they called themselves the Chosen Ones.
Oh my God.
That's the story of how the Tootsie Roll saved the war.
Part of it, anyway.
I mean,
wow.
Hands down.
Yeah. What would we have done?
What would we have done?
I'm really glad that you didn't say that they were using the Tootsie Roll to, like...
plug up bullet holes?
I was like, if this bitch says they put Tootsie Rolls in bullet holes, I'm going to be really upset.
I read that somewhere.
No.
But I think that this story was kind of greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
Some of the places that I read, or some of the people that have told this story before, they made it seem like they didn't get any other supplies but the Tootsie Rolls.
Right.
And that they had to just fucking make do with Tootsie Rolls.
They're like using Tootsie Rolls as bullets. They're like, because you could like form them a little pointy on the end.
Well, if it makes you guys feel any better, do you know why they invented super glue?
Why?
No.
It actually was invented for the battlefield, so you don't have time to do sutures, so glue it shut.
Wow.
Shit.
I mean, like
That makes sense.
Yeah, I've had like things glued, you know, but I didn't know that's why they made it.
I actually was watching the new show Poker Face on Peacock. I don't know. Okay. Not a sponsor, obviously. But in that show, one of the first episodes is that somebody goes and actually super glues one of her cuts together. And then throughout the show in various episodes, she is super gluing people's cuts with the super glue.
You guys laugh at it, but I seriously have super glue in my house for that purpose.
Wow.
And I carry it when I travel because I'm a klutz. And it's funny because my cousin, he was throwing a birthday party for his wife. He cut his finger on a knife and he's panicking because he's got to go to the hospital now. I'm like, you got some super glue? Because, you're good. Yeah. Don't worry about it. So we drag him upstairs, his brother, who was explaining this and putting pressure on while we're trying to glue this. And I was explaining how it works. And I said, don't worry, because he's now embarrassed a little bit. He's sweating and he's like nauseated and he's not doing well. You know, my 6'2" cousin's not doing well. And he's like, I'm so embarrassed because I feel like I'm going to throw up. I'm like, just think of this as a bonding experience. We're going to laugh about it tomorrow. And then his brother says to me, it's a little bit more bonding than you thought because I just glued the three of us together. But the hilarious thing, he calls me the next day and he's like, when did I take the glue off? And I says, it just dissolves, right?
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah.
And about a week later, he sent me a picture of his finger. No scar.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great.
That's amazing.
I've used like liquid skin. You know, they make like that liquid skin that's sort of like that.
Yeah.
But like we use it sometimes with massage because you can't really massage somebody with a Band-Aid on. You have to either put a glove on or put liquid skin on. But the problem with liquid skin is like sometimes it gets rubbed off with the
Right. Also, it feels scratchy, doesn't it?
Yeah, but like depending upon where the cut is, it's not going to necessarily touch them. But it'd be easier to use super glue or liquid skin than have a plastic glove on the whole time.
You don't put like a
Tootsie
finger
Rolls.
condom?
Yeah, if it's just on a finger, but like if it's on my palm or something.
I used to think finger condoms were for very small penises.
I'm not talking to you.
No, for real, I did. I just couldn't fathom that it was for a finger.
Why?
I was just like, why would a finger need a condom? It wasn't like something that would register.
Yeah.
And like, I was just like, wow, that's a really small penis. How unfortunate.
Really, really small.
Really cool.
Anywho, historydaily.com. That's where I got my, the gist of my story. Well, not the gist, the freaking whole thing.
Today I got my sources from Notable Kentucky African American Database.edu, Wikipedia, and the Legacy Project Chicago. So I thought, considering everything that's been happening lately, in the world, particularly America, that it would be a good time to tell the story of Lucy Hicks Anderson. Do you know of Lucy Hicks Anderson?
No.
Anyone? No? Okay, good. Well, not all the terms we have today existed at the time, when Lucy lived. She is considered to be one of the first trans women to fight for trans rights in the courts.
In what year?
In like the 1930s and I'm going to tell you all about it, but yeah.
Wow.
We're actually recording this on National Trans Visibility Day.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
So this
I know
is a great story
our girl, the TikToker. You know who I'm talking about?
Which one? The sweetest
Miss. I know who you're talking about.
She's a fix-it.
The fix.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Fixer. What's her name? I'm going blank.
Yeah.
She's trying to raise $2 million today.
Oh,
for
really?
For trans health.
Oh, the fix it. Oh fuck. What's her name?
Yeah.
The handy
ma'am.
Yeah, the handy ma'am.
How could I forget?
Yeah. Anyway, so Lucy was an American socialite, a chef, and a madam of a pretty successful brothel. Lucy Lawson was born in Wadey, Kentucky in 1886, and she was assigned male at birth. From an early age, she was adamant that she was not a boy, and she identified as female in a time period where the term transgender just did not exist yet. She was more comfortable in traditional girl clothes, and she named herself Lucy. Her parents took her to doctors and were all like, what up with this kid? Why are they acting so weird?
Right.
And you want to know what doctors in 1880 told them?
What?
It can't be good.
Well, doctors told her parents that if she feels like a girl, let her live as a girl. So they did.
Actually, it's good.
Yeah.
That was the fucking twist of the night.
Yeah, for truly. Yeah. So she began wearing dresses and going to school and going by the name Lucy. And everybody just accepted her.
Why so woke?
A black little girl in Kentucky. Isn't that crazy?
What? Why you guys not doing this today?
I don't know. Because it's bad right now, like what's happening. So like,
oh my God.
This is like groundbreaking,
As a matter of fact, Canada has opened the doors for us to...
Yeah, for asylum.
For asylum. And we say that us because we're part of the LGBT community.
Yeah. We have storm chips. So we have Costco. We've got the big sizes.
I'm beginning to feel very affectionate towards snow, if I'm honest.
and we have that Tim Hortons. So.
That's right. Let me go try the waters first and see how I feel.
Go see if you like the coffee.
Yeah.
No, not really. Not the coffee.
So at age 15, Lucy left school and did domestic work as means to support herself. At age 20, she headed west to Pesco, Texas, where she worked in a hotel, and then to New Mexico, where she married her first husband, Clarence Hicks, and this was in 1920. When she was 34, she moved to Oxnard, California, where she became popular as a skilled chef, and she even won, like, some baking competitions and things.
Wow.
Okay. So her marriage to Clarence only lasted about 9 years, and during the course of her time with him, she saved up enough money to buy a boarding house. Well, to the public, it was a boarding house, but to those in the know, knew that this was actually a brothel and a speakeasy during Prohibition.
Okay, so, I really love this girl.
Yes.
I really do.
Yes.
She was a good time
She's
girl.
taking care of herself, 100%.
Oh, she's a queen, man. She's a queen.
Yeah. and people loved her. Like, she was very, like, like, she's a socialite. Like, she was very popular in the area. Like, she hosted parties. She spent her money. She helped others, like, kids coming up. She helped them. Like, she was very, like, into bringing everybody with her in the best that she could, So she was doing all right for herself as a madam and became a hostess, like a well-known hostess in Oxnard. And as the story goes, her and some of her ladies were arrested one night, and the town's leading banker promptly bailed her out because he had already scheduled a dinner party that she was hosting, and it would have fallen apart without Lucy, hosting the event.
God,
That's a good reason to get her out.
Yeah, he's just like, let her out, hurry up.
Oh, she commits murders. That's fine. She's a great hostess. We need her out.
So in 1944, Lucy marries her second husband, her love, Reuben Anderson. He's a soldier who had been stationed in Long Island, New York. They loved each other, but we'll get to that shortly, because in 1945, a sailor claimed that he caught a venereal disease at one of Lucy's brothels, from one of Lucy's women at the brothel.
Okay.
So all of the women were rounded up, including Lucy, and they were required to undergo a medical examination. And this is where Lucy is outed as trans.
Oh.
When Ventura County District Attorney learned about the examination and that Lucy had been assigned male at birth, they chose to try her for perjury, saying that she lied about her sex on her marriage license and that she was impersonating a woman, which is a crime at the time. And also again.
Wow.
During the trial, she stated, "I defy any doctor in the world to prove that I'm not a woman. I have lived, dressed, and acted just as what I am, a woman." However, the court convicted her of perjury on her marriage license and sentenced her to 10 years of probation. Okay? Which, okay.
At least it's probation.
At least it's probation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, marriage was only valid between a man and a woman, and she was deemed not to be a woman, so her marriage was declared invalid. But why do all the local authorities get to have all the fun? The federal government wanted to pile on her as well, so they charged her with fraud for receiving financial allotments to soldiers' wives from a GI Bill that happened. So her husband was in the army, so she was receiving a payment for him when he was
spousal support.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And so since she was receiving that money, and since she lied because she was assigned male at birth,
right?
The federal government got her for perjury. They also decided to charge her for failing to register for the draft. She would have been too old for the draft regardless of her gender.
Right.
Their argument was she should have still registered and then proved that she was still too old. But she shouldn't have had to register because she was living as a woman.
Right.
In this trial, she and Reuben were both found guilty and sentenced to a men's prison where Lucy was forbidden to wear men's clothes while she was in jail. I don't know. I looked up how long she was in jail. I don't know how long.
She was forbidden from
to
wearing
wear women's clothes. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
She was forbidden to wear women's clothes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was a little confused there for a second.
Yeah, no, she was forbidden to wear women's clothes. I'm sorry. I don't know how long she was in jail. I don't know. They were both in jail together, but I don't know if they were together in the same cell or if they got to be together. I don't know anything about that. Probably not.
Yeah.
But so she's written about in an article titled "Sin and Souffle" because that's what she trafficked in, sin and souffles.
Oh, I love it.
No, it sounds fancy.
Yeah.
The article, they gushed about her. All her fancy wigs and what a great citizen she was. She was always donating to organizations like the Red Cross and the Boy Scouts. She had $50,000 in ward bonds, which is a big deal during World War II. So the last line of this whole story, this whole thing that goes on and on and on, is about how great she is. And then the last line is but Lucy was a man. So it was all to make fun of her, basically.
What?
Yeah. The whole thing
I want
was
a time machine right now to go back and kick some butts.
Yeah. Well, speaking of
That's not
Time, Time magazine picked up the article, and to add insult to injury, they voted Lucy Time's Man of the Year. Yeah.
Shame on you, Time magazine of 1930s.
Yeah, 1946, I think it was. But yeah. So after being released from prison, she was barred from returning to Oxnard by the police chief, who threatened further prosecution if she came back. But don't worry about Lucy. It's not all bad. She and Reuben relocated to Los Angeles, where they resided quietly until her death of 1954 at 68 years old. They stayed together, and they really loved each other. In the Handbook of LGBT Elders, Lucy Hicks is listed as one of the earliest documented cases of an African American transgender person. And there was an episode on a TV show on HBO called Equal that's based on Lucy Anderson. The Life of Lucy Anderson. But I don't know. I didn't watch that show. There's a couple good little books and articles about her, but this is pretty It was pretty, like, a bummer what happened to her, because she was, like, a good, cool, like, person in her community that, like, everybody loved, so.
Right.
It's a bummer.
That sucks. I mean, man of the year. What a
slap in the face, yeah.
Absolutely, that's a slap in the face. Like, you know, she was like a pillar of her community.
Yeah.
And she had a brothel, which makes her even cooler. Yeah. And on top of that, they do that to her that just, ugh.
Unless they featured her in a dress.
No, they didn't.
No?
They basically used the whole Sin and Souffle article. Like, they just, you know, in my understanding, they basically copy and pasted it until there was, like, it was all a joke. If you, like, look her up, you can see a lot of the magazine articles and things of the time that were, like, reporting on the case, and they're all, you know, dead naming her and misgendering her. They really they'll say her name, and then, like, you know.
Yeah. You know what, though?
It was awful, yeah.
I'm choosing to think that she operated in a circle of friends that knew who she really was and treated her with love and respect and kindness.
I think so.
And to think that there were people like that woke during that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, itself.
It gives me hope.
Yeah, I really do think that, like, it sounds like
her family were, like, so supportive.
They were just
of
like,
her. Like,
yeah, she's a girl then.
Yeah, and the doctor and everything. Like, it just makes me believe that obviously the headlines will read whatever.
Yeah.
But in her circle, there were people who loved her and accepted her for who she was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the headlines are going to be what they are.
Yeah, the headlines are sensational, right? Like, that's what people buy papers for. Maybe she didn't, like, flaunt what her story was to everybody, but it does seem like certainly her husbands would have known, and certainly, like, her closest circle would have known. And, yeah.
And the women in her brothel,
I would think,
and the customers and whatever.
And she was, like, super protective of them, it sounded like. Like, it was it was cool. It was she seemed like a cool, awesome.
The people who she was hosting parties for.
Yes.
Like, come on.
Yeah, come on.
They all knew. They were in the know. I like that story. Even though it wasn't, like, you know, obviously.
Yeah, it was a bummer because, like, it feels like sometimes things will never change. But you're right, there is, like, glimmers.
Her happy
there's
ending.
glimmers of hope within that, you know, within that story.
Yeah.
Well, speaking as somebody from not your country, it seems to a lot of us that you guys are going back in time.
Oh, yeah.
So I pray that you guys go back to that time.
Yeah.
And move forward from there.
Yes.
Because what's happening now, geez.
It's terrifying, cool. Yeah.
It's not cool.
It's terrifying. Yeah, it's a bummer.
I'm so out of the loop, I don't...
Oh, we'll talk about it off the air.
Nydia doesn't watch the news on purpose.
No, yeah. I get very sad.
Very serious
I couldn't watch the news I couldn't watch the news for quite a while. My husband was in the military, and when he deployed so often, I couldn't watch the news at all.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you at all.
For your own mental health, like, but there's some very serious laws being passed very rapidly that are
terrifying,
making life very uncomfortable and dangerous, particularly for trans people, but queer people across the country. It's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And also women in general.
Oh my God, yeah, the abortion stuff. The abortion stuff is
so, like... So you mean all the people that vote left?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's just...
Yeah.
Anybody that...
I mean, anybody that's not like a straight white man really is in serious trouble. Truly. But what else is new? Do you have something to tell us that's a little more uplifting, maybe?
Well, I did say I was going to make you guys laugh, and it's hilarious that you guys brought up a brothel, because brothels are in my story, too.
Beautiful. Ooh. We love a brothel.
Who doesn't?
That's right.
So, before I get started, though, I was wondering, have you guys gone to a circus before?
Yes. I have not.
Of course not.
Oh.
Dummy.
Well, when circuses come to town, you know, a lot of people do get excited about it because circuses are advertised as fun for all ages, and they provide a type of entertainment that people don't normally see. But in the case of a circus that went to Toronto in 1855, it wasn't so much fun. In fact, it actually changed the political structure of the city itself.
Really?
And it was a circus. So before I get started in the tale, I kind of have to give you guys a little bit of a history lesson.
I love it.
About Toronto itself. So, Toronto is the capital city of the province of Ontario, here in Canada, and its population sits just a smidge under 3 million people, and it's considered to be the most populated city in Canada and in the top 4 in North America. This city is actually incredibly culturally diverse. That's why I love it so much. You know, it's truly a melting pot. And it is a prominent center for music and entertainment. It's filled with museums. That's why I went this last weekend. And historical sites and the public events that they have help attract over 43 million tourists a year.
Wow.
So as crazy as that sounds, it wasn't always that way. Now, back in 1855, Toronto was nothing like it is today. Now, the French had actually set up trading posts in the area in 1751, and all of these were abandoned after the British took over after the 7 Years' War. So after the American Revolutionary War, the land where the current Toronto area sits was purchased for a new settlement. In 1793, Lieutenant Governor John Simcoe decided to move the capital of what then was called Upper Canada over to that area. So he originally named it York and planned for this city to be a military outpost, along with another area that's near London, Ontario. So he eventually decided that York would actually be a permanent location for a capital city back in 1796, and there would be no second location. And as soon as he made that decision, new developments started to reach out and change the landscape. So the workers started building a harbor, but then that's when war struck again. And that would be the War of 1812. And that was between the British and the United States. And as you know, we're at the time considered a British colony, and we still are under the British Commonwealth. So York itself was a site of many, many battles. But 2 years after the war started, they were at a stalemate. So they considered this, even though the war was still going on, a time of peace. And the future city of Toronto during this time just grew steadily in population. So back in 1834, York was renamed to Toronto, and that led to its very first municipal election. Now, the election was won by a man. His name was William Leon Mackenzie, and this guy had a very liberal ideology. A few years later, though, in 1837, he organized a rebellion. He did this because he decided he wanted to reform Upper Canada, but his higher-ups thought that's kind of a bad idea, we want to keep it the same, so they started to fight. Upper Canada forces came in and quickly defeated all these rebels, and William and his followers fled over to the United States. Now, none of this actually slowed Toronto's growth or development. By 1855, Toronto had a population that had tripled over the last couple decades. It was at the time one of the largest cities in Canada with a big population of 40,000 people. Now, you got to remember, this is the 1800s. That's a lot. But this city was not anything at all like the urban city of today. It was actually considered to be a really rough frontier town that was filled with saloons, brothels, and many people took advantage of those places. And this would include the S.B. Howe's Star Troop Menagerie and Circus. So on the morning of July 12, 1855, the circus rolled into town. So how they would work is they would perform in one location for several days, then the entire group would dismantle and pack up the entire show up in wagons and then move to the next city to perform. So the clowns and the carnies, as S.B. Howe's Star Troop Menagerie and Circus, they really should have cut down that name, by the way, fit in with the new city of Toronto. Why? Well, they also love saloons, brothels, and drinking. So that circus put on an awesome show the first day in town, according to history. Now, after the performance ended that night, a group of clowns decided they wanted to go out and party. So they started carousing and eventually ended up at a place that's on the corner of King and Jarvis Streets. This place was advertised as a social club that was operated by a lady named Mary Ann Armstrong. And, well, there was a whole lot of socializing that happened there. It was one of 100 brothels that lined that street at that time.
Damn.
Now, think about it. 40,000 people, 100 brothels.
That sounds like New York in the 80s.
That's a lot of brothels.
Yeah.
So by the time the clowns arrived, they already hit multiple taverns and saloons. They were feeling no pain, and all they wanted is a good time with the working ladies. But before the clowns arrived, Mary Ann's was already hosting another group of men. Now, these guys were from the Hook and Ladder Firefighting Company. So at this point in time, the city-owned fire departments didn't exist. Instead, there were actually several privately run for-profit fire departments in Toronto. So what would happen is a fire would break out, and each company would rush over to the scene and try to cut a deal with whoever owned the building.
Are you serious? This is my favorite bit of history. It gets happened all over the place.
Whoever made the best deal would put out that fire. Now, sometimes no deal would be made and the building burnt down.
Yeah.
But mostly, it just resulted in rival companies getting into fights and trying to drive the other companies away. So 2 weeks before this event, the Hook and Ladder men got into a fight with another company, and it was so bad that the police had to come and break it up. Now, on July 12th, the hook and ladder men had another long day. They were fighting fires or getting into fist fights. And after hitting a whole bunch of bars, the firemen arrived drunk at Mary Ann's looking for some company. So now 2 groups of drunken men ended up at the same location looking for fun, and there's only a limited amount of young women. So I got to ask you, at this point of my story, doesn't this sound like a really bad joke here? Like a firefighter walk into a brothel? What can go wrong? So what happened next, there's a couple different versions of the story. Some people say that a clown and a fireman started arguing over the services of one young lady and they came to blows. In another version of the tale, one of the firemen got kind of mouthy, then he purposely knocked off one of the clown's hats and they started to fight. I'm envisioning one of those little hats with the flower that squirts.
Yeah,
I'm guessing that's not what happened.
100%. The firefighter has no shirt on. He's all hairy.
Yes.
But he has the fire pants, but his overalls. Yeah, he's got his overalls on like suspenders.
Yes.
And then the clown has
and he's wearing his hat.
Yeah, he's got his hat on, right?
Yeah.
And he has a handlebar mustache because it's like the 1800s or whatever.
I mean, how else would you know that it's 1800s?
Right. And then the clown has the yellow pants with the polka dots, but the big shoes.
Big shoes.
But his shirt's all open. Yeah, right. Flowers. He's got a flower on his shirt, but it like keeps leaking water.
Also
he's all
suspenders.
Drunk. Yes. He's trying to like woo the girl with his like flower, and he like squirts her in the face.
That's right.
He's like, hey, baby, you want to go up to the room? Honka, honka.
He's got a red nose.
He does got a red nose. They both have red noses, don't worry.
They gotta have red noses.
Yeah.
So in another story, the clown cut the servicing line in front of one of the firemen. But either way, it had the same result. The clowns and the firefighters, I can't even say this without laughing, I'm serious. The clowns and the firefighters started to fight in a massive brawl. So the police were called to break things up, and when they arrived, they found that the clowns beat the living hell out of the firemen. 2 firefighters were hospitalized, and then the crowd eventually dispersed. Now, do you remember how I mentioned politics at the beginning of this?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, during this time, a majority of Toronto's population was immigrants that came in from Ireland, and with them, they brought their political and religious conflict. Now, most of the city's Irish community was actually Catholic, but the city's government was mostly Irish Protestants. Now, many of the Irish Protestants were part of what was called the Orange Order, and that was a political and religious society. They defended the Protestant faith and their connection to Britain. Now, these guys influenced politics at pretty well every level, and their goal was to keep the Irish Catholics as second-class citizens while they made all the decisions. So these guys were known to gather up in gangs to physically attack Irish Catholics in the street. And since the Orange Order controlled the police department, they did whatever the heck they wanted without any penalty. So, after the firefighters from the Hook and Ladder Company got their butts kicked by a whole bunch of random clowns from out of town,
literally,
these guys are like, we need revenge. We gotta get our revenge. So the next night, a gang of firefighters joined up with a mob of the men from the Orange Order to hunt down the clowns. So they end up finding them where they had set up, and they stormed this circus site. They were carrying their picks, their axes, and clubs, because apparently that's what they had back then.
Yeah,
so these guys overturned wagons, pulled down the tents, and set the ones that were still standing on fire.
Oh my
God. The firefighters in the Orange Order beat the clowns almost to death, and all the carnies ran for their lives. So the police then had to get called, and they just sat back and watched their Orange fellow members beat up these clowns. They did literally nothing to help. So then the mayor was called, and he came down, and now this is a full-blown riot. So the mayor himself literally had to step in to prevent a firefighter from murdering a clown with his axe by fighting him and taking away the axe. I bet you when he signed the paper saying, I'm now your new mayor, he didn't envision that he would actually fight a firefighter stealing the axe and, prevent a death of a clown. But either way, the fighting did not stop at all until the mayor called the local militia, and these guys showed up with their guns and bayonets to break everything up. So now imagine this. Just imagine all these clowns with their little flowered hats, lying all over the place, injured like a war field. Circus people are everywhere. They're all their little horns are busted, and these, out of the hundreds of people that were actually involved in this riot, 17 were arrested only.
Oh my God.
So these 17 went on trial a couple weeks later, but interestingly, at trial, all the police developed amnesia. On the stand, every single police officer didn't remember seeing any of their accused Orange Order people at the scene. Of course. Now, according to that, because of this, all the accused were acquitted. But now, the people of Toronto, they just had enough of this crap. They had enough of the Orange Order beating up citizens and random clowns. They were just sick of this cover-ups. And soon after this circus riot happened, another riot happened between the Protestants and the Catholics. Oh. And once again, the police had amnesia when it came to everybody in the Orange Order. So, right after this happened, it was discovered that the chief of police freed a suspect who was part of the Orange Order who was accused of robbing a local bank. So, Toronto, the residents said, we had enough. We're going to act. And they did. When the next municipal election occurred, people were determined to vote out these Irish Protestants. Now, despite the fact that the Orange Order threatened and intimidated the voters, a mayor that was backed up by the Irish Catholic population was voted into office. Now, this was the very first time since William Leon Mackenzie's rebellion that a person was not handpicked by the Orange Order and somebody who wasn't won the election. So this new mayor immediately set up his city council with like thinkers. The first goal was to get rid of the corrupt city government and the police department. So they launched an inquest, and in the end of this, the entire old policing system was scrapped. Within the next 3 years, every Toronto police officer was fired along with that police chief.
Wow.
They were all replaced, and the entire force was reorganized into a city-backed, non-political based force that was not in any way under the control of the Orange Order. Now, amazingly though, it took nearly another 100 years before the stranglehold of the Orange Order that they had on the city of Toronto was broken. So who knew that the modern Toronto police force and fire brigade developed due to a clown and a fireman walked into a brothel?
I love that. Oh my god, the visuals.
That's what I was gonna say, the same thing.
When I started researching this, I laughed for hours, just envisioning a firefighter fighting a clown.
Yes, definitely.
And the best thing is they cleaned the clocks of the firemen.
I love that so much.
Wow.
Well, it's like Gangs in New York. Do you ever see Gangs in New York?
I think I did.
Well, it's like the
I don't remember
the
it.
fire. They depict a really good scene of what she's saying, like the firefighters showing up and there's a building on fire and they're like beating the shit out of each other in the street trying to put the fire out because whoever puts the fire out gets paid. You know.
Can you imagine if you just don't have a lot of cash? Why bother calling the fire department? Just let it burn.
I heard a story about that before where like eventually like firefighters were like going around and starting fires and being like, uh-oh, like your house is on fire.
Right.
And then,
what are you going to pay me to put it
yeah,
out?
I'll pay you, pay me, I'll put it out.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were like sabotaging each other's fire departments, like, breaking their buckets or whatever the fuck they were. Like,
actual frick?
Meanwhile, like whole cities are burning down, like Chicago fire.
Okay, you need to tell us this story.
I'll have to look. I'll have to do an episode on it. Yeah, it's interesting.
But did they have clowns?
They did not have clowns. You're right. That is a way better story.
Yes.
That's so funny.
That's the kind of story that I'm here for.
Yeah, we love that.
You guys are going to go to bed tonight envisioning a firefighter, a prostitute, and a clown.
We love it. We love to see it.
Yes. I love that.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
So thank you, Brenda. That was I really enjoyed the stories here today.
Yeah, this is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I really liked it. I'm starting to, initially when we first started this podcast, I was all very murdery and bloody and, just sensational crimes.
Yeah.
Cannibalism, whatever kind of debauchery of that nature. And Dana was very history oriented. And over the years, you have worn me down to a nub. And I'm enjoying these historical stories.
It's just to me, I find that it's like very interesting to see it's sometimes a little terrifying that nothing ever changes, but it to me, like, I don't know what it is about history that I find so fascinating of like just how people lived, how they got by, like how did we get here with nothing, like we didn't have the technologies that we have today or the advancements or the knowledge or this or that or whatever it was. And listen, I just find that so fascinating. Like when we go in our deep dives of like just talking about outhouses and sharing a poop spoon or whatever the fuck. God. Like, I just get so like, like how did you live? Like, how did we get here? You guys shared a poop washcloth. Like, I don't understand how everybody didn't die of dysentery. Like, what are you saying?
So, speaking of I was thinking of starting a little series. I have myself a book. called, I think it's called The History of Poop.
Perfect.
And it's a big book, so I think we're going to start a little poop corner.
A poop corner? All right.
You gotta call it Poop Corner, seriously. I love that.
Yeah, so we'll think of a clever name for this little series. And I think I'm going to tell a little story about poop.
Poop every week?
Poop. Yes, I think it's going to be a little segment.
Well,
like a little tiny little blurb story.
We'll discuss that on the
at
the podcast.
We'll see if
meeting.
it's apropos. My computer's about to die. Apropos. Yes. So that's it for us. I really enjoyed having Brenda on. Your voice, like I said, it could sail 1,000 ships. And
tell that to my partner when I'm yelling at him. It's like la 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 la.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun having you.
100%.
And, be sure to check out her podcast and tell them where they can find it.
Well, Horrifying History, honestly, it's where science, history, and the supernatural collides. And you can find us on any major podcast provider. You also can find us on Facebook at Horrifying History, Instagram, Horrifying_History, and Twitter at HorrifyingHist1.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
And I'm definitely going to check it out because I listen to a lot of podcasts now and I'm running out of choices.
Yeah.
And I like her voice.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's all about the voice.
You know, I love history, so I'm like, ooh, I'm into it.
Yeah.
You know what I hear a lot? It's that I'm telling the worst stories that you can imagine, but I sound like a kindergarten teacher telling story time.
That is
and I'm
exactly.
like, I'll take it.
Yeah, that works.
If
that
you
works.
can go to sleep to murder, okay.
Yeah. We all going to sleep to murder, right? I think.
I mean, yeah, that's a good
across the board.
I
right?
literally watched the show Murder, She Wrote just before going to bed every night.
Actually, believe it or not,
It's not
what I was
creepy.
watching yesterday was Dead Files. and I'm falling asleep. Yeah, it's another killing spirit. I got it.
Wow. We are some broken people. Yeah, I only feel safe. Like, you know, my boyfriend walks in. I'm doing work from home, and my boyfriend walks in, and he's like, I was listening to like the 50th hour of Murder podcast, and he was like, "Yeah, that's about right." Yeah. I left the house this morning, and you were listening to a murder podcast. I come home 8 hours later, and you're still listening to a murder podcast. He's like, "Yeah, there's something wrong with you." Wow.
Well, it's fun when you like, you know, I'm dating and like new people will sleep over. Not often, don't judge me, but and I'm like, are we like on terms where I can put on this creepy ass podcast when I go to sleep, or do I still have to act normal for like, you know? And then when I put it on, I'm like, it's not like a thing really. It's not that weird. Like, it's fine. Like, I don't think you should judge me for it. Meanwhile, it's like,
Oh my God.
We went to a haunted event this year with a whole group of friends, and it's like a haunted farm, and you know, you have all the little teenagers dressed in costumes jumping out, and my girlfriend, oh my God, I laughed so hard I thought I peed myself a little bit. She's so terrified, and she's screeching every time. So we put her first, of course. You know, you know, we're pushing you to the monsters, honey. You just need to go. And we were laughing so hard at her, and she screeched as this chick jumped out and looked kind of like the Samara off the Ring, jumped in front of her and screamed. And I heard him like, honey, it's a teenager who's getting minimum wage, dressed up like Samara. It's not Samara. Just thought you should know. You didn't watch the video. You're good. You're good. And she's like, how are you not scared? I'm like, it's a teenager making minimum wage in a costume.
yeah.
I said, I worked in a hospital. I know real fear.
Yeah,
I see a lot of bad stuff. This is just hilarious.
It's just for fun.
See, I support my friends.
That's right. Yeah.
Nydia
I
works
say
with
throw
middle
them towards the
schoolers.
vampires. You go.
That's right.
Yeah.
The real fear.
The real fear. Nydia works with middle schoolers. That's the real fear.
Yes.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
It was actually funny. I told my husband, you know, the reason I watch horror movies and all this stuff is because it's almost like it takes your mind away from what you really do. And I guess that's kind of like the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It takes your mind away from what you're really seeing. And it's funny. He's like, I don't understand how you don't even get upset. And then one day I had a test I had to get done. I had to get an MRI. And they book them. I don't know if you guys in the States where you are the same. They book them day and night. They go a 24-hour schedule.
Oh,
So
really?
of course, When do I get my MRIs every single time or testing? At 11 o'clock on a Friday. Wow. And so I worked in the hospital where the test was. And I said to my husband, I'm not going by myself. Nope, no. Because they make you go through the emerge entrance and lock all the other entrances. So I'm like, I'm not going by myself. There's no way in hell. He goes, why? I'm like, you'll see. So, and he came with me, and he got to see an emerge room in a downtown metropolitan area on a Friday night at 11 o'clock. First thing he said was like, I think every single police officer in our province is here right now. I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then so I go register, and he walks, he's like, you worked this? I'm like, every single day.
Wow.
That was my life. And I said, and that's why I had to get out.
Yeah.
Because it was changing me as a human being. I was becoming more and more desensitized.
Wow.
So I'm like, I had to change careers after a certain amount of time because you should react.
Yeah.
And I wasn't reacting anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to have longevity in something like that if you want to still have
a soul.
Yeah, compassion. I wasn't going to go that far, but okay.
We understand.
It's probably why I don't have a soul.
Yes, we already know.
I've been teaching.
I still wanted to be a happy person and not hate humanity, so I decided to make a change.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, I have 7 years before I can love humanity again, because that's when I retire. So that's it for us. And I guess we'll see you guys next week. But in the meantime, subscribe so you don't miss out. Subscribe to Horrifying History. Subscribe so you don't miss out. And we have merch. We have Patreon. Patreon.
We have Patreons.
We have Patreon. We have Buy Me a Coffee. We have all the stuff. If you want to throw money at us, we're here for it.
We actually have a new Patreon, Alana.
A patron.
A patron.
Yeah.
Yes.
A patron saint.
A patron saint, Alana.
A patron saint Alana. Thank you, Alana. Now I'm obligated to stay with this freaking podcast.
Now you can't quit.
That's right.
Won't let
And
you.
they're from for Alana.
And they're from Canada.
Wow. She's paying us in maple leaves.
So she knows what Timmy's is.
So thank you,
I'll have to
Alana.
teach you the lingo later.
Okay, all right.
There's a Tim Hortons language.
Perfect.
okay.
Wait, I needed to know that.
You got it. We got to
the
make
I
same
gotta
thing as
walk in
Starbucks.
with Timmy's.
Right? Starbucks has a language. Tim Hortons has a language.
Oh, I need to know about it.
Damn it.
I get
Okay.
it off the air.
So the best thing you can do for both our podcasts is write a review and or share with someone else.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do both.
Yeah,
do both.
do it.
You have time. Come on. So you can connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, I don't know, LinkedIn, whatever the hell.
All the socials.
Yeah, except for Parler. We're not on Parler. Check you out next week. And remember, do not get taken to the second location. Be good or be good at hiding a body. Bye.
Cheers.
Are you okay?
Jesus Christ.
Fucking loud.
You're disgusting, and I hate you both.
Oh, God. I'm crying. Oh, my God. And holding my peak in my